Hi there, welcome to the Sunny Dads Network. This is season 1. We are now at episode number 7, and I'm very excited to have my good friend Stephen Zwane joining us at this time. Stephen, welcome, my friend, and nice to see you coming along. We've been talking a lot about the journey around, and again, I was asked this morning that those days that are either raising kids on their own, so just to put that on the side. I know your journey from when your kids were young, and I want to know some of the challenges that you face, your triumphs, your celebrations, and the journey and how you've managed to navigate this, especially taking into account that you're a professional as well. You've got work demands, social demands, and other family demands. And then how have you been able to make it work for you?
Thank you very much, Stan. Thanks for having me. I'm a big fan of the Single Dads Network, and really congratulations to you for seeing a need for this. My name is Stephen Zwane. In terms of the journey of parenting, I think the first thing that when I reflected on the discussion that we're going to have, I just remember that I was raised by my grandfather.
Sure.
My grandfather was a polygamist with 4 wives, and they all lived along the same sort of compound of some sort.
Yeah.
One thing that I remember in those years that I was exposed to him was he was a provider.
Okay.
And he made time to be with his family, with the kids, and also with the wives.
Yes.
And that is a big memory for me of what there ought to be. So I then learned in being a parent, I'd like to be able to provide for your children. Number 2, do you make the time to be with them?
Yeah.
And number 3, are you conscious about the responsibility of being a dad?
Yeah.
So I've been, I think, a single dad for many years.
Sure.
One of the reasons why I'd say I've been a single dad for many years is that I had my first child when I was 17, 18. So I was a teenage, So I was a teenage dad, and I think for me, being a dad was the one thing that galvanized me to want to be more in life.
Sure.
So that I could provide, so that I could be there for my children. And so one of the things that I then can say to you is there's been many complications in the single dad's world. And I think I remember whether it's somebody threatening you that I'm going to go to court.
Happens to all.
I'm going to go to court, or I'm going to make sure you don't see the child, or whatever the circumstances are. I think one of the things that helped me was to always remain calm in those situations, and be creative about what to do in circumstances like that.
Absolutely.
I remember one of the creative things I had to do was to I think my son must have been in grade 3 or grade 2 in school, and I was forbidden from seeing him. Wow. So therefore I made a relationship with the teacher at the school. So after school I'll call the teacher and just have the opportunity to chat to him, or request the teacher to let him stay on a little bit after school so I could see him. So I didn't have full access
to him.
And I think that's the patience piece that says you put your time in. So being here and sharing this, I think for me it's really about dads go through a lot, and sometimes they don't have anyone to go to about this. Yeah. So I think I remember saying one of my activism is I want to stand for the rights of dads.
Oh, I like that.
So I think that's one of my activisms.
We're going to have to think about. Yes. I mean, you and I have done this parenting thing for a long time now.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to you the other day that I'm learning a lot from you, and you are learning a lot from me.
Absolutely.
But you talk about access and creating these bonds with kids. I mean, our motto is creating bonds, destroying stereotypes.
Sure.
How have you managed to get closer and closer to your kids, and how have you managed to build these relationships almost single-handedly over the period? And I mean, are there tricks or hints that you can share with our network?
I think firstly, you making a call and a decision to be present, it's the biggest decision you can make as a father. The reason why it's a decision and a big decision is that a lot of dads get disheartened over time when they are sent from pillar to post, when there's big arguments, they don't win, and when they really have to face an uphill.
Yeah.
But life is really about overcoming uphills and staying the course. So I think from my side, the biggest thing has been try and create moments where you can create memories.
Wow.
And those moments, or whatever they are, whether you learn to play games together in the house, and then you get to know each other's characters and characteristics. And those moments that you've got, it's not transactional. I think one of the mistakes we make is, I'm going to take you out on a movie. But sometimes it's just the playfulness that you get to have. Fortunate really in building the relationships. And over time, I think I believe I'm co-parenting with the most amazing co-partners in this process.
Yeah.
Because I know very well that it takes hard work. It takes commitment, it takes drive, but more importantly, you have to create the memories.
Yeah, Stephen, thank you for that. I think the issue around creating memories resonates with me because I always try to do things with my kids that are going to be stuck with us for a long time than just giving them gifts. I want to come to this point, the societal conditioning and the things around, there could be stereotypes or maybe stigmas around dads. And then I was saying to someone else, but single parenting, we always default to assisting women because we believe that custody is with them and they've got this inherent ability to raise kids. I want to know how you've managed to form bonds at the same time making sure that you are not put in a box as a provider and just a financial provider, let's put it that way. But how have you overcome that kind of stigma or stereotype?
I think I will err towards the forming bonds part.
Sure.
Because when I kicked off, I told you about my grandfather, and to a certain extent, the time that is being made, that I saw him make to be with the children in the midst of the busyness, is the one that stuck with me the most. So to a certain extent, the license to exist as a father is being able to show up for your children.
Yeah, I like that.
And showing up for your children sometimes is being able to pay school fees.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, when we start maybe lowering that responsibility, I think sometimes we're missing the point. Society where taking responsibility and taking accountability is most important. So for me, if you can provide for your children, it is your license to exist in that setup because you are genetically made differently. It's a basic responsibility. So that when the mother says, yeah, I can let you have him for the weekend, they know that you can try and create an experience. You're not just going to walk the streets and take your child to every friend and show him off or show her off, but you're going to do something. So I think for me, I'm about to do something. So I think one of the things I did most of the time was to learn to play games with my children, particularly board games. Particularly board games.
That's a bonding session.
And for me, that is always a life skill. I know if they can play board games with me, when they go outside and connect and network with others, that they will feel like I can compete. I can be able to play these games, and it helps them connect. Helps them connect with others. So I'm talking to this piece of creating bonds because I'm not wanting to spend time talking about the things that are stereotypes that don't build. Part of building is also you being a role model as a dad. Role modeling is to do things that make society better. So I'm a big believer of doing things, of making society better and bring my kids on that journey that we do together. We have a responsibility together. So at Edwilet, the kids grew up in Edwilet. They grew, when they were small, they experienced it. When they've grown up, they feel they are part of it. And they feel it's part of who they are. So for me, you create moments through the things you do at home. You create moments through the things you do with others. You create moments through the things you do with society. So to a certain extent, as when I said I'm an active, I think it's more about the rights. of the fathers. That fathers have a right, whether you have or you don't have.
Yeah.
But that right must also be earned by your good deeds that you do as a father.
You demonstrate fatherhood through so many things.
Correct.
And young kids copy a lot from us.
Correct.
As dads. I want to touch on this thing of co-parenting and communication.
Yeah.
Since this morning, we've been talking a lot about the power of communication between the two parents, especially when you don't live together. It doesn't matter who has the custody or visitation programming or plans. But how has that worked for you? And how have you ensured that the parenting styles are aligned? Because I'm sure the two of you are very different. I'm talking about the mother and yourself. But how have you ensured that the way you parent is almost integrated?
It's complicated. I'll be lying if I say I've won that part. But the piece that I think helped me navigate is to put the child first.
Okay. So everything is...
So whatever decision we are making is in the interest of the child.
Yeah.
So when we make decisions that are in the interest of the child, we will always find common ground. So whether we make a decision about a school that a child must go to, if I believe that we need to go to a different school, I must be the one that is upfront about why. Even if it means you introduce an educational psychologist to say the child learns differently or things work differently, you bring the facts on the table, you engage, and less about the emotions. So the center piece there is not me, is not her, but is the child. So I think for me, I found that to transcend whether we don't agree on the small things or we agree on the big things. Yeah, and I mean, if at all you don't put the child at the center, that's where a lot of the issues come about.
Yeah.
You stay with the principle that is right for the child and you engage. It's a negotiation. You'll win some
give and take.
And then you'll lose some. And part of it is compromise, is sacrifice. And I think I can't overemphasize that the main thing here is put the child first.
Yeah. So someone was saying earlier that when my boy was with me, I used to receive telephone calls from the mama saying, "Is he okay? Is he wearing warm clothes? Has he eaten? Where are you? Can I talk to him?" So what, in your view, what causes this resentment, this fear that dads, when the child is in your care, you are not inherently capable of looking after him? And if you were to talk to the ladies out there that are co-parenting about that, how could they trust us when the kids are in our care?
I think it's two parts. Number one, it's a cultural context that's very deeply rooted.
Yeah.
It's generational in nature.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Dads never really showed up for their children in many ways. And to a certain extent, we've got to earn it. Yeah. And I think for me, it just doesn't come from the mother herself, it comes from her mother, the grandmother, or the entire family structure. So it's very historical in nature. So for me, it's entrenched. Okay. And so when she acts that way, it's because that's how it's been perceived. But
how do we change that mindset if we have to?
So I think maybe what I then say is that the effort should never be to try and change the mindset.
Okay.
It is to try and do right when you have the moment.
Yeah, so
allow her to feel anxious about the child. Allow her to call many times. Allow her to feel like I can wake up and come fetch my son at 10 o'clock at night if he says I want to be fetched. Yeah. Allow it to happen, because at the end of the day, if you push and you pull, you're not enabling the building of the trust.
Yeah.
So over time,
the trust builds over time.
Exactly, and those things don't happen all the time. Yeah. And then there'll be fewer calls over time as you earn it.
No, of course. I noticed with mine as it grew older, the trust was building.
Correct.
And then she was calling less. She would just check once in a while. Last section that I want us to touch on is how some of the dads or fathers generally could leverage these kinds of networks, just as ours, to basically move closer to the kids. Because remember, our emphasis is not about bashing the co-parents or the exes or the other parties. Our main aim is to create bonds between fathers and the kids, and for them to build those relationships. How could they benefit from such a community, from such a network?
Yeah, I think we learned from our own journeys, and maybe sometimes self-taught, and sometimes we looked at somebody that did it well, and we're like, I want to emulate that person.
Yes.
And so I think for me, with this network, it's another opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to share experiences so that other dads who are early on this journey can be able to channel some of these experiences.
Yes, I like that.
And I think for me, a network like this is an opportunity to say, dear Single Dads Network, I'm encountering this situation, how did you overcome it? And then we plug ourselves in and say, this is what it is. And sometimes it's a mentoring exercise. Can I have a coffee with you and share with you what my experiences are? Our biggest challenge is we don't get the opportunity to share. We don't get opportunity to say, can I ask this question? And will I not be judged? Will I not be seen as weak? So I think for me, I'm fortunate that I've had single dads around me, like yourself, who I could lean on and I can learn from. So I think it's not a big thing except to say, make a decision. You want to be a great dad? Then work hard. If you want to be a great dad, find dads that are great. Learn from them.
And seek help.
Absolutely.
Because like I said to you the other day, we've got a panel of experts. People that are watching us now will know that we've got a panel of experts from whom we leverage. And then we want dads like me and you to access this talent because it's there, and some of it is going to happen pro bono. So I really like what you said about just allowing yourself to learn and be a learner.
Absolutely.
and navigate this network. There is your son here. Come over here. I just want to ask him a few questions. You're going to take this seat. And
I feel I'm being put on the spot here.
How are you, my friend?
I'm good.
Please introduce yourself on camera.
Hello, I'm Zwane, the son of Stephen Zwane. Today.
Thanks, my friend. When this young man was a boy, he used to travel with me. I think you were like 6 years.
Yeah, from Durban.
From Durban to Joburg, because, and again, it's the same story that Stephen and I have been talking about, where Mama lives or works elsewhere, and the dad lives in Johannesburg. I happen to go to KZN a lot, and I used to travel with him. He would sleep in my car and wake up and play games. I want you to tell us very, very briefly how your story and your history, just navigating and building this relationship between yourself and your dad has been, and how it's evolved over the years.
We're traveling a lot from mom and dad. It varied because I had to get used to the lifestyle of being with dad and being with mom. So with dad it took time, but it went well. It did many ups and downs, but that's okay. It happens because you learn. You're growing together. Dad's trying to understand you. You're trying to understand
and
dad
vice
at
versa.
the same time.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So with it takes time, but it's grown. It's been well. We're getting to understand more about each other, especially now that I'm in my final year of high school and I'm stepping into adulthood.
Into varsity,
And so with it, I'm learning more about him as a person, instead of just being my father himself. So I'm getting to learn more of his history. He's getting to understand me more, and we're opening up to each other. But it takes a lot.
It takes, and like he was saying, when you guys do activities together, whether you're playing games or you're traveling, do you find that those memories stay longer?
Definitely.
And they create a bond between the two of you?
Most definitely. They do take an impact on all of us, and especially me. I've learned a lot of skills.
I've seen it because we spend time together.
Definitely.
The last question, Oletu, how do you find the tension between how your mama is parenting and how he's parenting? Do you find they've got different styles of raising kids? And how do you make sure you understand both sides? Is it a struggle for you?
So yes, both parents have different styles of parenting, but they do connect when it comes to certain situations.
Oh wow!
So with it, I don't find it difficult to transition between the two.
Yes, because you have to understand. I mean, at your age now, you are at a point where you understand their different parenting styles, and then you can understand it nicely, and it doesn't really create friction.
Yeah, so with it, I've had to learn from it and understand it, and that, okay,
awesome.
Mom acts like this, Dad acts like this.
And then you adjust.
And I adjust to it. Now I'm able to go both sides.
Thanks, my friend. I appreciate it. All the
Thank
best.
you,
I wish you well. And all the best at school.
Thank you.
Thanks, my friend. Guys, next episode, actually next season, we're going to talk a lot about what sort of support network we can create for that. Throughout this season 1, we've been talking about stories, and we have been talking also about how dads have navigated their parenting lives. But the next season, we're going to focus more on how do we build a strong network so that they know where to find help. And I hope you're going to join us next time again when we do that. And all the best. My friend, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. I just wanted to maybe say something as we close.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things is co-parenting is a process and a journey. I am fortunate that I co-parent with amazing human beings first and foremost.
Sure.
And I think our main goal is to raise responsible children. I want somebody watching this episode to think about, yes, I've got challenges, but my priority is to be a responsible dad, is to be a present dad, is to create memories. I also want them to watch the episode and say, actually, these are muscles we must build over time.
Yes.
So let's build them along the way. Yeah. But thank you very much, and
thanks
for joining us.
It's been great. I appreciate
it.
Thanks, my friend.